Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to unpack a fascinating essay that explores a huge paradox right at the heart of our modern world. The core argument is, what if the greatest diplomatic achievement of the last century, this incredible period of global peace, was actually built on a foundation that causes immense hidden suffering? It's a massive idea, so let's get into it.
So, what is this grand achievement we're talking about? It's this number right here, roughly 100 years. That's about how long we've gone without a major war between the world's great powers. Now, when you think about the centuries of human history that were just one bloody conflict after another, this isn't just a success. The essay we're looking at calls it what it is, a miracle.
And that, right there, brings us to the core of the paradox. If this peace is such a miracle, what's the catch? What's the hidden cost? This is the central question that drives the whole argument, and it forces us to look beyond the absence of war and really question the kind of peace we've actually built.
To really understand the cost, we first have to get a handle on how this miracle was even possible. See, it wasn't an accident. It was a very deliberate system built around one incredibly powerful idea that completely reshaped the world after 1945. This timeline really shows you the fundamental shift. For most of history, it was just the way of the world. Strong nations conquered weaker ones. That was the game. The first few attempts to change that, well, they failed spectacularly, leading to the absolute devastation of 2 world wars. But out of those ashes, a brand new system was designed, with one goal: make conquest a thing of the past. And, incredibly, it's held up for almost a century.
So, what was the cornerstone of this new system? It all comes down to one powerful principle: national sovereignty. The idea is actually pretty simple, but it was revolutionary. A nation's borders are sacred. Its territory, what the essay calls its scope, can't be violated. This became the absolute bedrock of our modern world order.
So here are the new rules of the game. A nation controls its territory, and that territory is totally off limits. But this is the most critical part. This rule applies no matter what. Even if the government inside those borders is weak or chaotic or just plain awful, its borders are still considered sacred. Using force to change the map is no longer on the table. This is the firewall that's supposed to stop us from going back to that age of conquest.
Okay, so we've established the miracle and the principle that makes it work. But this is where the essay takes a sharp turn, arguing that this very system, the one designed to protect nations, has a deep, disturbing drawback. And here's the trade-off, laid bare. On one side, you've got the nation-state. It's treated as this supreme, sacred thing, often propped up by what the essay calls fabricated patriotism. But on the other side, the actual individuals, the people living within those sacred borders, their rights and their well-being get severely neglected. In this system, the border is more important than the person. This trade-off leads to an even darker idea, one the essay calls the lottery of birth. The concept is that your entire fate, your freedom, your opportunities, your very survival, is basically determined by a simple roll of the geographical dice. This is a really chilling quote from the essay. When it says power figures, quote-unquote, enjoy their own nationals behind closed doors, it's using the word enjoy in the darkest possible sense. It means they have absolute, unchecked power to do whatever they want to the people inside their borders, all while being shielded from the outside world by that principle of sovereignty. So it breaks down into this simple, brutal logic. The leaders of each nation vary wildly in their competence, their goals, and their cruelty. Because of that, the experience of being a citizen in one country versus another is completely different. Your life, your rights, your future. It all just comes down to the random luck of where you happen to be born. That's the lottery. And the essay gives us some concrete examples. In some of these sovereign nations, internal conflict is so constant that people are denied the most basic things a human needs: food to survive and knowledge to grow. This system is successful at protecting the nation's borders, but it does nothing for the people who are starving inside them. And it's not just a side effect of war. In other countries, you have oppressive regimes that institutionally restrict food and knowledge on purpose, as a tool of control. It's not a bug in their system, it's a deliberate feature, designed to keep power.
And what's the ultimate result of all this? Human potential is just crushed. People are prevented from becoming who they could truly be. Instead, they're reduced to what the essay calls designated types of religious or political animals. Basically, they're molded to serve a state's ideology instead of their own humanity. So, after laying out this incredibly stark critique, the essay doesn't pretend to have any easy answers. Instead, it leaves us, the readers, with a series of really challenging questions to wrestle with. The first question is really a challenge to every one of us. Can we truly grasp the reality of this kind of suffering? It's one thing to hear about it, but is it even possible to understand it in a real, detailed way? Or are those of us who won the lottery of birth just too insulated to ever truly know?
The next question is even harder. Should these problems be solved? It feels like the answer should be an obvious yes, but then you immediately run into the how. How do you solve them without violating the very principle of national sovereignty that, for all its deep flaws, has managed to prevent another world war?
And this brings us completely full circle. The final question is whether this system, which was designed for peace, actually contains the seeds of its own destruction. Could the massive gap between how different nations treat their own people become a source of instability so huge that it leads to the very kind of conflict the system was built to avoid? It's a really powerful and, frankly, unsettling thought to end on.